Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Pioworski, coming to you live from the East Coast. It's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day?
It's hump day.
Hump day?
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is all in the trying.
That's right. So how's are you in prison, Craig? It looks like a holding cell behind you there. What is that?
I am not in prison. I am actually at a client's office. Needless to say, I've not been very successful in beginning my weekend. We're actually we're doing a gubernatorial forum. So a bunch of the candidates who are going to be running for governor are going to be doing a live feed forum here from the Sacramento Observer. Well, not from the Observer, with the Observer. And so we're up here setting up the studio and getting everything ready so that we can, ask them some questions.
If you say so, that building looks very government-y, and that looks like a holding cell behind you. So
It's not a holding cell. It's actually this is a place where all the reporters are at. So I'm in like one of the bays where the reporters are at. And that is a space where if someone needs to do like an interview or a phone interview or something like that, and they kind of need to have a little bit of quiet instead of being out in a common area like where I'm at, that's kind of soundproofed did.
So like an interrogation room.
Pretty much, except, the windows aren't blacked out.
Oh, well, we don't normally black those out. We like people to watch.
Clearly, you're not ICE.
Well, no, if it was ICE, we would be separating the adults from the children.
Oh, there you go. Well, in this case, they're separate. You just can't see the children because the bottom part is frosted.
For the record, we always separate the adults from the children in the criminal justice process because you can't house them together or keep them together. The only time they're together is when you have legal counsel in the room.
That is something that it's very interesting, just trying to get people on the left to understand. It's like, they're like, oh, you shouldn't separate the kids. Well, no, whenever you have an instance like that, you arrest somebody, you separate them from the kids. But that sort of logic does not make any sense in places like California.
It's amazing. We also separate the women and the men, which is weird too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you're supposed to, unless they, claim to be the other.
Well, that might work in California, but not here. So,
yeah. Well, there you go. You's in Florida, so it'd be like that.
And you can have an alligator in the room with you if you like. That's okay. It doesn't matter what sex.
Alligators are just fine. Just fine.
Yeah.
In particular, if they are swamp puppies.
That's it.
But
Even
even
a
if
swamp
not.
puppy and a frozen iguana.
A frozen iguana. I hear they're tasty.
Chicken of the tree.
The chicken of the tree. Good stuff. I'm gonna have to have one when I'm over there visiting y'all. I have to have us an iguana taco.
Go right ahead. It'll be all you. We'll watch you.
Okay. I was thinking that you were all exotic when it came to dining, but evidently not, huh?
I am, but that listen, to us, that's like oh look, a rat. Let's eat it. No, there's still regular chickens available. I'll be okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I got no problem with that. All right. Well, hey, by the way, are you being successful? Have you been successful in beginning your weekend?
I've just got done watching a football match, so I guess so. I've been sitting watching a match. What they lost. So.
Oh, the real football.
The football. Yeah, the good football.
The good. No,
the one where you use your feet for football. The feet football.
Well, there you go. Yeah, because the good football includes a lot of violence and, at halftime some twerking.
Yeah, that's. I did not watch the Super Bowl. I tried to and did not. So
it was the worst Super Bowl of my lifetime.
Listen. I think we talked about this. I saw the pride when the national anthem was played at the Bears-Rams game and decided going to give it a shot. And as soon as I turned it on, they did the Black national anthem. I'm like, okay, they're in San Francisco. They're back to doing their DEI thing. I'm out.
Yeah, kind of figured.
Yep.
But hey, interesting stuff going on, and let's talk a little bit about it. But let's start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Get your AR barrels there. They got rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire for your next AR build or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Public Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. If you want the best in field gear, tactical, law enforcement, fire, security, EMS, they got the best gear around. Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts probably got that too. Get your group together, get your agency together. Place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
And also want to remind you, coming up in 9 days, we have 2A Freedom Fest in Summerfield, Florida at Runaway Campers. You're going to have speakers from all over the country, advocates for the Second Amendment, people who work in media, people who work in politics, people who work in politics, people who I think we're going to even have some elected officials there. People who are in the industry, firearms retailers, once again, all talking about how you can protect your Second Amendment rights. Folks, it's going to be a fun event. You're going to want to be there because, well, Mike and I are going to be there. So make sure y'all show up.
Hip, hip.
Yep. Definitely want to make sure that you show up for that. Also want to remind you, if you're watching the program live, meaning you're watching at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, you're watching us live. And we would love to hear from you. Would love to hear what you think about the program, what you think about the topic that we're talking about. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic, whether you agree with us or not. In fact, we encourage you to disagree with us because that gives us the opportunity to mock you.
Oh, wow. Is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
You know, Craig, while you're here in Florida and we could 9 days, 10 days, we're going to put you together with a mockingbird. Actually, have a conversation.
Oh, that would be good. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be
How much
interesting.
is that like being married?
Oh, it's much the same. Yeah.
It's much the same, not quite as loud though.
Yeah. Much the same. Yeah.
There you go. All right, good stuff. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get into today's topics. Issue number 1. If you have been following the conversations with the right and with the left, in particular with the left, and their desires as to how to handle or the reforms that they want to see take place with ICE, one of the things that they are demanding, or that they would basically not kind of demanding, that they are demanding, is that ICE be required to use judicial warrants instead of administrative warrants when detaining individuals who are in the country illegally. And according to experts, this being featured in an article from the Washington Free Beacon, they're saying that it would bring enforcement to a near halt. Now, those of us who understand the difference between the two probably recognize exactly why this is, but let's share a little bit from the article here over at the Washington Free Beacon. It says Democrats demand for the Department of Homeland Security to, quote, improve warrant procedures and standards when arresting illegal immigrants could grind ICE's enforcement and removal operations to a near halt, immigration experts told the Free Beacon. The policy would restrict ICE's ability to rely on administrative warrants, which are authorized under the Immigration and Nationality Act and issued by senior agency officials after determining probable cause. They allow federal authorities to arrest immigrants illegally residing in the country, a civil violation, and carry out enforcement actions, including deportations. By contrast, judicial warrants require a judge's signature and are typically only issued if an illegal immigrant has committed a separate federal criminal offense. The heightened legal standard could severely handcuff ICE and other immigration authorities, according to the Heritage Foundation Border Security and Immigration Center Director, Laura Rees. Factor in the longer review process that judicial warrants demand, a backlog in immigration courts that reached record highs in recent years, and the likelihood that activist judges seeking to thwart and delay ICE could deny a request, the agency's enforcement capacity would drop by 90%, Rise says. Now, the other thing that they do not point out in this particular piece that I'm curious about, because I believe this to be the case, is that if they were to have to go through judicial warrants or go before a judge, then that would be, because that is now, we're now talking a criminal court, would that or would that not then require them to then get legal counsel or provide legal counsel to the individuals who are being detained?
No, and we had the court ruling on that last week that said that individuals are not entitled to all those steps of due process and getting counsel as well. Depending on what it is, but for the majority of them, it would not. Craig, this entire idea here is just another attempt to delay the process and to put a halt to President Trump's immigration policy. Which is amazing because every president, including every Democrat, for the past 50 years has been putting out numbers larger than Trump. This is just again another attempt by the left to halt President Trump securing the country and reducing crime and ensuring peace and tranquility around the nation. Because why would they want those things?
Well, exactly. They didn't require anything like this under Obama, where, by the way, 87% of those who were removed from the country did not go before a judge. They did not have a judicial warrant. They had administrative warrants, was what was used to remove them, and they removed way more. Now, most of these folks, in particular, though, that we're talking about, these are individuals who actually have committed a crime. Most of these are folks, they have either committed a crime or they have an active order of deportation against them. That's all the probable cause you need.
Crimes beyond illegal immigration.
Yes, they have committed crimes beyond illegal immigration. Now, once again, people who are being detained who do not fit one of those two categories are people who happen to be in the vicinity when the ICE officials are around, and they figure, well, while I'm here, I'll take you too.
Yeah. Just how can the left try and make Donald Trump look bad? Oh, we'll make the country worse. That's how we'll do it.
Well, and keep in mind, the other thing I think for folks to keep in mind, it's not like we're talking about in the last 4 years, there was an abnormal number of individuals who came across our southern border illegally. In other words, they just flat out almost doubled the number of illegal immigrants that were here in the United States. And they went overwhelmingly to, they came into some of them being red or purple states. A lot of them wound up in blue states, which means that they're offering them a lot of incentives to be here. And it means that the taxpayers are footing the bill for this. You've also seen a dramatic increase in crime. All right, you've seen a dramatic increase in homelessness, and a lot of that is tied to the number of people who basically just walked across the border. And they came here so quickly that it's important that we seek to remove them quickly.
Absolutely right.
Yeah,
and that's what's going on, and it's working. Listen, look at the reduction in crime this year so far. Look at the reduction in the rent problem. At the lower and middle class level, it's working. The fast removal process is working.
Yes, and that's the difficult challenge. Is it's working, and they don't like it. They don't like it. Some of them don't like it because it means they're losing voters. Right? These are people who they were hoping one day would become registered Democrats and vote for them. And,
Well, as we're seeing here recently, you don't need to be a registered Democrat to vote. You just have to be in the country in a blue state, and then you can vote.
Oh, because they'll register you as a Democrat.
That's right. Exactly right.
Sadly, that is kind of the direction that things have gone. But anyway, once again, going back to the whole point of the whole point of this thing is that they want the process to grind to a halt because it is being successful and it's helping across the board. And the one thing they do not want is Republican policy being successful. They don't want crime to go down because they want it to go up under a Republican. They don't want murders to go down. They don't want the economy to get better. They don't want rents to go down. They want things to get as bad as they can so that they can, in the midterms, hopefully in their eyes, they want to take over. They want to take over the House and the Senate, and then eventually they want to try and they'll use that to go after Donald Trump and go after Republicans, and then in the very end they'll wind up going after hopefully in their eyes, Their goal is to win the White House in 2028.
That's the goal. We'll see how it goes, right? We'll see how it goes for them.
Yeah, not a big fan. Not a big fan. Anyway, this next story was something that I came across, and what made me come across this was they were talking about if you've been following the whole Martha Guthrie thing, the mother of the morning show host, I think it's Today Show host, who was kidnapped like 10, 11 days ago. Well, they just released a video yesterday of a guy who they believe, basically he was a person of interest. Now, they've since picked up a guy who they thought it was. Turns out it wasn't that guy. A lot of people are being critical because why did it take Google, once again, a multi-trillion-dollar, billion-dollar company, why did it take them so long to get the video? Well, the reason why it took them so long to get the video to law enforcement was because she actually had canceled, or at least hadn't paid for her subscription. So there was no real way. They weren't really supposed to be recording her Ring camera. And yet they did. And that brought me to this article because it made me realize, I'm like, wait a minute. So you mean that they're recording even when they're not supposed to? Duh. Yes, they are. And this is a piece that says, with Ring, American consumers built a surveillance dragnet. Reading here, it says, at Sunday's Super Bowl, Ring advertised, quote, Search Party, a cute, horrifyingly dystopian feature nominally designed to turn all of the Ring cameras in a neighborhood into a dragnet that uses AI to look for a lost dog. One post of the dog's photo in the Ring app starts outdoor cameras looking for a match. Ring founder Jamie Simonoff said in the Super Bowl commercial, quote, Search Party from Ring uses AI to help families find lost dogs. On screen, an AI-powered box forms around a missing dog, Milo Match, it says. Since launch, more than a dog a day has been reunited with their family. Be a hero in your neighborhood and with Search Party, available to everyone free right now. Now, Mike, I got to tell you, if they can search for a dog, my guess is they can also search for people.
They can search for anything, Greg, right? If it's on that video, it doesn't matter what they're looking for. They could search for it. Again, just you may have signed all the paperwork in the world saying that your video is private to you and nobody else gets access to it. Let's say you do sign up for Search Party, and you want to share that with your neighbors or, crime alerts. What's to stop them now? Because they're doing this without your consent, without your permission, evidently. They just come along and the government says, hey, we'd like to see everything that happened on that corner this weekend. And they go to Ring and they get every piece of video from every camera that was in that neighborhood that weekend. I mean, that's like, and it's not, it wasn't, you're like, it's not possible. It's on TV, right? Where you see them go, hey, CSI unit, we need all cameras from that location, or on a Marvel movie or something. We need all the cameras from that location to give us the information. Well, now it's possible because you've got companies like Ring going, oh yeah, we'll cooperate with you.
Well, but what's the trip is, even when they're not supposed to be recording, and by the way, we all know that they're recording. I think I've told you this. I don't know if I've told you this on air. So I was talking with a friend of mine who has written a book and was looking to get the book published. I was talking to them on the phone while I was on my way to a meeting. While I was in the meeting, I'm, bored out of my mind. I'm looking at my Facebook feed, and every other little Facebook ad was about how to self-publish a book.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely occurs. Yeah,
it includes your Ring, which means any conversation, anything you do, either within vision of your Ring camera or within earshot of your Ring camera, is now recorded and stored somewhere.
Yeah, just
we don't know where. We don't know who has access to it. Evidently, the government has access to it now. That's insane. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, just like your conversations at home, if you've got one of them Alexas or whatever it is, same thing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you wonder. If you have one of these, a phone, it's recording it as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, Big Brother is watching.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal when they're not using it against you, but how long is that going to be? How long is it going to be before until they're using it against you?
Yep. That's right.
Anyway, well, we know that sadly and unfortunately there are those who seem to think that the law does not apply to them, who seem to think that even if you said you don't want it used, you don't want it recorded, that they can do whatever the heck it is they want. Well, evidently in Delaware, that is in fact what is happening, as Delaware police and a prosecutor are enforcing a law after the court said they couldn't. This is being reported by Cam Edwards over at Bearing Arms. It says here, there are a number of ongoing lawsuits challenging multiple guns because the State Department of Justice sent a letter to Judge Mary Ellen Nareka this week informing her of an arrest and prosecution under the enjoined statutes. Oh, wow. This is from the Firearms Policy Coalition. Delaware informed the district court today in our lawsuit challenging the state's bans on self-manufacturing and possession of home-built firearms that it mistakenly prosecuted someone for violating one of the laws enjoined in our preliminary injunction. So somebody forgot to tell the lawyers. See, here's the thing. I'm not going to say I don't blame the cops, but I don't expect cops to be lawyers. I do expect prosecutors to be lawyers. I do expect them to fully know the law. You would think the cop would know before they arrested somebody. But I definitely expect the prosecutors to know before they actually, prosecute someone.
Yeah, listen, I get that the cops may not know it, right? Because, like you said, they're out on the road enforcing the crimes that the people hand them, and they say these are the laws that we're enforcing. And Craig, if a ruling comes out, if it comes out Wednesday at noon, that this law has now been decertified. Let's call it. It's still got to go through. State attorney general. The attorney general's got to put the word out to the agencies. The agencies got to put it in their training blocks. Then it's got to get to the officer. That officer may not get it for months. At a minimum, they get their annual training that they have to get to maintain certification. But those little updates that come out with the legal standards that they give in briefing, they might not see that for weeks or months at a time. But yeah, absolutely right. This should never have gotten to the point where it left the agency. Even if an arrest was made, the legal department, the chief lawyer there should have said, no, we're not prosecuting that anymore. That we don't do that. And then when it gets to the state attorney's office or the district attorney's office, they 100% should have known about it the moment it was deemed null and void.
Well, it's funny because we've seen this happen before in California. We had a client with the Cal Guns Foundation that was actually arrested for concealed carrying a long gun, something that is not a crime that exists. Right. He was on his way. I don't remember if he was to or from the shooting range. He had his gun in the back seat, and it was like under the case, right, instead of in the case locked. Anyway, they wound up seizing the firearm. He was issued a citation, and then notice to appear. And sure enough, the deputy DA the prosecutor wanted to prosecute him. So our attorney wrote a brief to the court and explaining why it's not a law. And evidently, the judge didn't know that it wasn't a law.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, you would be surprised how little some of these folks who enforce the law. Who administer the law, how very little they actually know about the law.
Yeah, now I'll say, listen, it's not the norm. Most of the laws change, on 2 or 3 dates a year, January 1st, July 1st, or October 1st, for whatever reason. Is when they put most new laws into effect. There are definitely laws where, when they sign it and say effective immediately, but most laws are planned to go in effect on certain days. And then big briefing books go out, and big training goes out, and big notices go out. But if you get some random court ruling and new case law that goes out, on February 11th, they may not know about it for a while.
No, they may not. But you definitely, once again, I I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't expect cops to be lawyers.
Right.
I do expect lawyers to be lawyers.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. They may not know about it for a while. That's the police. Everybody
Yes.
else should be over their morning coffee. What they're looking at are new laws as of last night.
One would think. One would think. Anyway,
Yeah.
this next story really kind of got me. So there's this restaurant. Now this place it won America's Best Restaurant Award. It was an award-winning restaurant that decided to put a 20% charge because of on the surcharge on every customer's bill because of America's racist past. This being reported by the California Post. Obviously, this restaurant's in California. It says America's top-rated restaurant in California was flooded with one-star reviews over its woke message at the bottom of its receipts, calling for an automatic 20% service fee to combat what it called the country's racist, ugly past of tipping. A now deleted Reddit post went viral for pointing out the message that's tacked to the bottom of the receipt at Burdell, a Michelin Guide soul food restaurant in Oakland, San Francisco. SF Gate reported, quote, tipping in the U.S. has an ugly past, allowing the continuation of underpaid labor, it says. We don't like that history. Included in your check is a 20% service charge, which we use to pay hourly staff a consistent and livable wage, not dependent on archaic tipping customs or chance. No need to add anything else. Thank you. So in other words, they are now charging this surcharge instead of allowing people to tip. Now, my question for this is really quite simple, Mike. Why not just why put a surcharge on it? Why not just, if you believe that's what you want to do, then charge that amount for the food. You don't need a surcharge. Just charge that. Put the actual prices of the food up there.
Yeah, I could see it going either way, but I think a lot of us, Craig, want to know how much we're tipping, right? So if the restaurant says tipping's included in the price of the food, they want to know how much you're giving the server. Am I tipping her 50%? Am I tipping her 20%? What is the server really getting? Because I want to make sure the server's taken care of. Maybe the owner is saying I'm giving them 10%, and that's not enough, and you want to give them more. I like the idea of saying 20% surcharge is added to give the server their wage, no tipping required. I don't have a problem with that at all. But adding the part about it's based on our racist past as a country, you know what? I'm going to go eat somewhere else.
No, I agree. Me personally, I'm like, whenever they add those surcharges, I'm like, okay, well, I will not be eating at this restaurant again. Here's the thing. Doing business in your city, in your state, is just more expensive, and you just don't want to own that. That's the problem. The problem is that you want to talk about quote unquote livable wage. Well, why don't you pay a livable wage? No, you want to blame us, the customer, for not paying a livable wage, when you, the restaurant owner, are the one not paying the quote unquote livable wage. And the reason why you're not paying the livable wage is because when you charge it, a lot of us are going to say, yeah, your product isn't worth it, so we're going to do less business with you because your product just isn't worth it.
I mean, it's the hazard of doing business, right? And listen, you could compare this to anything, including the healthcare coverage, right? If I start paying doctors the same rate and I don't allow them to make super amounts of money, do I get lesser coverage? Do I get lesser care? Do I get a weaker doctor? If we go to across the board, 20% is now included in all bills to give to the server as their tip. Do I get worse service? They're not trying to earn their tip anymore. It's common practice down here, at least in Florida, if they're parties of 6 or more, 18% is added to the check as a tip. Right. Why is that? Well, because in the past, traditionally, parties of 6 or more, they tend to break up the check a lot, right? And so everybody seems to get less tip. It doesn't work as much. The server's working harder. They want to make sure they get a minimum tip. But, you start putting that minimum service charge on there. Do I have to work as hard to keep your glasses full of drinks? I get it. But I got no problem with putting on there a notice that no tipping at this restaurant. Tipping is included. Now, whether that's in the bill or, itemized as 15, 20%, I'm all for that. I'm on I'm a frequent international traveler, and this is the only country we do that in. Everywhere else, it's no big deal.
Everywhere else, it's no big deal to have a surcharge or to pay a tip.
You just it's not. They don't put the surcharge on it. There's the bill price, and out of that bill, the owner pays the server their livable wage.
There you go. Don't know why it's a problem, but it's because people don't want to be responsible. It's like, yeah, you're the employer. You pay the wage.
Yeah,
pay them what they're worth, and charge us what your product is worth.
It's different, overseas too. That servers over there, that's their career. They're making a livable wage. It's not something that you do a waitress as a year when you're out of work trying to become an actor, or in between college jobs. That's not one of the jobs you take overseas. Right. To make ends meet. It's not a minimum wage job. It's a profession.
Right. But the other thing is, my thing is, don't call it a gratuity. It's not a gratuity. If I have to pay it, it's not a gratuity. In other words, I'm not grateful. I'm doing it because it's a fee. Just call it. At least I'll give them that. Just call it a fee. You're charging me a fee, an extra fee, for you to be nice, for you to be nice to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, folks, so that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com, use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog holster today. We got some interesting little videos here for you today for our parting shots. This first one here, this was Pam Bondi. I believe this was today. It wasn't today. It was like near the end of last year. It was quite interesting as she testified before Congress. By the way, this is a guy, Tom McClintock, who is, one of my favorite former California state legislators.
Right.
Do you mean to honestly tell us, and you're under oath, that if we take violent criminals off the streets, we end up with less crime?
I certainly hope so, Congressman, and that's our goal, and that's
an
President
extraordinary concept, and I'm afraid it may be lost on some of our Democratic colleagues. I look at these numbers, and they're absolutely staggering. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because of specific policies that you've implemented this year.
Funny how that works out.
Greg, I don't know that there's truth in that. Can there possibly be truth that if we take violent criminals off the streets and we deport them, or put them in jails, that there's less crime? Can that be possible?
It is a thing. I've heard it's a thing.
Wow.
And that it actually works.
That's weird. That's crazy.
All right, here's another one. You'll love this comedian.
Sometimes I will go on Instagram and I'll type in the hashtag LGBTQ, and I'll scroll through and find a post and I'll comment, "That's gay." They'll get all upset. "There's nothing gay about this photo." And I'll comment, "Well, it's a picture of Gavin Newsom, so..."
There is that.
That's gay.
That is definitely gay. Oh, by the way, speaking of comedians, you'll love this guy.
Any one of you knows Sheriff Grady Judd? I want to meet that man. Because he's about 70 years old, and he's a dork. But he uses the lingo of the people he arrests. He does these great press conferences. He'll come out with just like a big old gold chain, says "No Limit Soldier" on it. Or "Death Row." He's like, "Looky here, we got their drip.
I got their drip. We got their guns.
We got their ice. We got their bling bling.
And that's what we're going to talk about today.
In the impound, we got their hoopty hoops. We got their whips. We got their Eldos, their Suburbans. They're toast, folks. So if you want to break the law, you go to one of those leftist areas. You ain't doing that in Florida. I'll tell you that right now." I was like, hell yeah, that guy's cool. You see in Minnesota, they'll jump on a cop car and start dancing. You ain't going to do that in Florida. You ain't going to jump on a cop car and start dancing here, okay? Twerk around and find out, bitch.
I love it. Twerk around and find out. That's the new one.
There you go. So yeah, I figured we had to have one from Florida, and then we had one from California, and then we just have one in general. Now, this is a quote. I don't know if this quote can be directly tied to the president, but I think he would agree with the sentiment.
Let me just say, I think Donald Trump, if I may say, he said something interesting. I thought he said something like, "Give a man a fish He'll eat for a day. Kick him out of the country, you never have to feed him again. I'm not sure if he said that.
It sounds accurate.
It does sound accurate, doesn't it? Hey, before we go, I want to make sure to give a shout out. We had Patrick Collins of the Gun Food say what's up. We also had the folks from over at American
Crossfire.
They were in a little bit earlier, tuning in, and I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for giving us a quick shout out. And but before we go, we're going to in fact give one more quick shout out, and that's going to be to our sponsors.
Give them a say hey. Say hello to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. They got AR barrels and rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire. They also have a whole collection of rifle barrels and pistol barrels and shotgun barrels that you may need. So check them out at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting that good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in tactical gear, field gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, fire, EMS, personal security, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever it is, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
Once again, folks, please take a moment and visit our sponsors. All you have to do is follow the links in the description to this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them. Make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. And that's going to be it for today's show. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Throat Punch Thursday, so you know we're going to have a good one ready to go. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and we will see y'all mañana.